Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be how to tell if she is cheating on you. In other words, how to tell if the girl you're dating, or if your girlfriend or your wife is cheating on you with another guy. Well, there's many reasons why women cheat. Obviously, the biggest one is they're just simply not happy and they're not fulfilled. And for whatever reason, they're either not fulfilled in the relationship or they don't think the relationship is going to work out long term. And so therefore, they line up your replacement, basically. And it's usually the guy who was just a friend who they end up hooking up with and sleeping with and later say, well, it just kind of happened. There's many signs that women give off, and the reasons why they do these things is for women who have integrity and who are honest. If they're in a relationship with you, they're going to be loyal to you. And the most important thing to men in a relationship is loyalty. And when it comes to what women find most attractive in men, obviously it's confidence, as I've discussed before. And so if you don't want to spend the rest of your life sleeping with one eye open, wondering whether or not your girlfriend or your wife is cheating on you, then you need to learn to recognize the signs. And what I teach guys to do is to always come from the place that you're her best option, be her best option. I mean, at the end of the day, if you've got a woman that has low integrity and the future of the relationship looks like it's in doubt, she's going to cheat on you, and there is nothing you can do to stop it. Even if you're doing everything right and she loves you, if she's a woman who doesn't have any integrity, she may just sleep with another guy just because she wants to sleep with another guy. Now, I'll give you a situation I had from my own life many years ago. I had a woman I was dating, was totally in love with her. And the problem that I see a lot, that I made, the mistakes I made, and where I see a lot of guys going wrong that write to me or guys that I'm coaching, is especially like a lot of my guys that I coach, they're dating women that they're totally head over heels in love with and who feel the same way about them. And it's the first time they're in a relationship when they're experiencing that. You know, for us men, we tend to be visual creatures, and therefore we see a beautiful girl, and right away, not only are we thinking about having sex with her and all kinds of other naughty thoughts, but we're thinking about having kids together, and this should be the perfect girl to marry, and blah, blah, blah. And when you're younger and you're less experienced, we tend to just look at how we feel and what we want. And we ignore all the little red flags that are there, and we just we bullshit ourselves and lie to ourselves, and we tell ourselves that they're not really there or that they don't really mean that much. And I'll give you an example from my own life. Many years ago, I was dating this girl. Like I said, I was totally crazy about her, and she felt the same way about me. And it was the first time I was ever in a relationship with somebody that I actually got past like the third date. We were actually sleeping together, and we dated for a couple of years. But when I first started dating her, she had supposedly broken up with this guy who was a mutual acquaintance of ours. But what I later found out many months later was that at least for the first few months we were seeing each other, that she was also still hanging out with this other guy, but just not telling me about it. And well, why would she do something like that? Well, she was a very insecure person. She was also somebody that's suffered from passive-aggressive disorder. And passive-aggressive people basically totally fuck their relationship up and sabotage it, but yet they don't take any ownership of the fact that they're the ones that actually mess things up. However, this particular woman, on our very first date, when we were talking, of course, she brought up the subject of other relationships and why they hadn't worked out, and her statement was, and this is a huge red flag, but I just didn't pay attention because I was so hot for her. She said, I fuck all of my relationships up. And that, what was different about most passive-aggressive women is she admitted that she knew that she fucked things up, and she was the one that wrecked her relationships. And that should have been a red flag, but I ignored it because, hey, I'll be different. I'm not like all those other guys. That's what I thought. And so after we've been dating for a couple of years, I was basically getting tired of her screwing things up and then doing nothing to fix it. It was either I fixed it or we didn't talk or the issue didn't get resolved. And this is the way her father was in the relationship. When her and her mother wouldn't speak, 2-3 months would go by, and it would, like Thanksgiving would roll around, and he'd end up going over to her house and saying, will you please come over and talk to your mother? Nah, I'm not talking to her. She was wrong. And screw her, blah, blah, blah. Even though her and her mother were extremely close, except when they weren't speaking to each other. And it was just, I just got tired of it. And one time something happened. I was getting to the point where it was wearing me out. I was tired of always having to put the relationship back together because she kept fucking it up. Just like she said in the beginning of our relationship, she fucks them all up. And I just got tired of it. And she got really mad at me. And one of her cousins was getting married on the day of the wedding. I went to the wedding because I hadn't talked to her in a few days, and I was just like, fuck it, I'll just go and I'll see you there, kind of thing. And so we go there, and she was mad and she was still upset at me, and I didn't resolve things at the reception like I should have. We were sitting, talking, and I just remember thinking to myself, I'm just fucking over this. I'm just tired of this fucking drama. I'm tired of always having to fix this relationship over dumbass things. I want to be with somebody who loves me and knows how to communicate like an adult, and she had no communication skills whatsoever. And I just was tiring of it, and so I just didn't have the desire or the motivation to put it back together at that point. And then so later on that evening, we were all over at her cousin's house, and she was, called, and I was with one of her brothers, and, everybody was drinking, we're all having a good time, and she's like, I don't want you going over there, and she's like, I'm going to bring another guy. I was like, that's ridiculous. And so she shows up like an hour or two later at her cousin's house with some other guy who was just a friend, and rubbed him in my face, because that was basically her way of saying, hey, if you don't get your shit together, if you don't fix this, then I'm basically going to leave you for him, even though he was supposedly only just a friend. He was one of those kind of guys. But she was the type of woman, always had 3 or 4 dudes in the background that, she was gorgeous, and she was always getting hit on. And so she always had 3 or 4 guys she could call if things weren't working out or didn't look like they were going to work out between us. And that's what she was basically doing. In other words, if you don't fix this, then I'm going to basically probably hook up with him, even though she professed it was just friends. Well, when I saw that, and even one of her brothers, who's a police officer of all things, her whole family's in law enforcement, he looked at him, he was like, who the fuck are you? And he said who he was, what his name was, and he looked at me, and he looked at her, and he's like, dude, I'm so sorry, bro. My sister's a fucking idiot. And I was just, hey, let's just have a good time. I don't really fucking care at this point. I was just over it. I mean, at the time, I didn't think it was going to spiral out of control like it did afterwards. But when I walked away from that evening, I was thinking, that's the end. I'm over this. I'm over this relationship. I'm over her. I'm over this bullshit. And if she wants to go date this other guy or whatever, rub in my face, it's like, unless she apologizes to me, it's like, fuck it. I'm done. And so I walked away, and like 3-4 months later, she ended up moving in with this guy. And then he was a very needy, insecure guy, and he ended up becoming emotionally abusive, and she had to get a restraining order against this guy. I mean, it was a joke, and I was thinking, man, it's better to be his problem than mine. And so what I learned from that was that when those red flags are there, you got to pay attention to those things, because if you continue to date a woman and you ignore the red flags, and then she later cheats on you or starts hanging out with other guy friends, the just friends, when things aren't going well with you, you don't want to be with a woman like that. And so I've got a quick email here from one of my clients I've been coaching for a while. And let me read it to you first. And he says, had a bit of a bad discovery today. I noticed a text from a guy when my girlfriend was on her phone. I had gotten a very bad vibe in this guy to begin with and felt something off. I let my curiosity get the best of me when she wasn't around and looked at her phone. They text fairly often. He keeps requesting her to come meet up with him, and at one point requested a risque photo of her. She would always tell him she couldn't meet up and never responded to the pic, but continues to text him. In one of her texts, which I know I was with her at the time, she said she was with her one friend, Mike, who seems cool, and other friends, not mentioning her boyfriend, aka me. I don't know what to do. I feel really weak for looking, but also feel justified. How do I approach this with her so she won't know that I looked at her phone, or do I? Well, number one, you should never do that. You shouldn't be looking at your girlfriend's phone. And when we talk on the phone, during our phone coaching sessions, you never really have a lot to say. I'll ask you what she's doing. You're like, yeah, that stuff. It's like you tend to agree with me a lot. And you basically always make it sound like everything's going fine. And then a few days or a week or two later, I'll get an email like this from you. And there's a bunch of little red flags in here. Number one, she's still talking to this guy. So this tells me, and plus the fact she's not mentioning you as her boyfriend, this tells me where she feels for you emotionally. I'd say her interest level is probably in the 60 to 70% range. But yet on our phone coaching sessions, you're telling me it's in the 90%. She's doing all the things that are in the interest level table on page 120 or when she's in the 90% interest level range. And so I'd have to say that you're bullshitting yourself, and you're probably bullshitting me on the phone. And it's like, I can only go off of what you tell me. And so if you blow a bunch of sunshine up my ass and tell me everything's great and rosy, I can't really help you effectively if you're not telling me what's going on. But at the end of the day, you got to look at the fact that what caused her to get to the point where she fell in love with you in the first place. You have to continue to do those things. You have to continue to be a mystery. You have to make sure that she does 70 to 80% of the pursuing, the calling, and the texting. Because if she's chasing you, she won't be getting rid of you. And if she's texting another guy like this or keeping him in the background, that tells me that she has doubts about your relationship and where it's going. As a matter of fact, just last week you were telling me that she was suggesting that you guys break up because of all these family problems that she has in her family. And we discussed how to open her up emotionally. I actually wrote an article about that for you. And now that I look at this stuff, I'm starting to wonder if the reason she's saying that is because her interest level has been dropping because you've been so paranoid and obsessed with her cheating on you that you're actually driving her away. And basically what she's doing is she's keeping these guys around as backup because she may not think that things are going to work out with you. So I wouldn't wait till our next month phone coaching session. I would actually move it up. So you should send me an email and give me some days and times that you're available next week, and we'll talk earlier. And you got to be forthcoming. You got to be honest about what's really going on. And the other thing is you need to show up at the beginning of your phone coaching session instead of showing up halfway through the session, because then you're missing part of it. So maybe you've gotten lazy, you've gotten complacent. I can't really tell what's going on enough here to really give you enough good information. But I know you shouldn't have looked at her phone, but those are definitely some signs there. Obviously, these are not the actions of a woman who has 90% interest level in you. These are the actions of a woman who has maybe 60 to 70% interest level in you. And so you're blinded by your high interest level in this woman, and because you're coming from a fearful place, you're probably not doing a lot of other little things to make mistakes and screw it up. So if you find this message of value, you can show your appreciation by going to the Wibbia toolbar, which is on the bottom of your screen, and clicking the PayPal donate button and donate any amount that you feel is equal to the value of the information that you received in this video. At the very least, please share this page with all your friends and family by clicking any one of the social network sharing buttons, which are also located on the Wibbia toolbar at the bottom of your screen. And if you got a question you'd like to ask me, or a topic that you want me to cover in a future video newsletter, just click the Contact Me tab on the left-hand side of your screen and summarize your situation in 3 to 4 paragraphs and give me several days to get back to you with a detailed response. And if you'd like to book a paid phone coaching session with me personally so I can help you with a specific situation, click the Products tab at the top of your screen and just follow the instructions for booking a paid phone coaching session with me. And I will talk to you soon.